sense.
I had a conversation with my friend Brian Simpson yesterday, who's a stand-up comic, brilliant guy. And one of the things we talked about was Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Rock, who's in our world is, he's one of the Mount Rushmore. He's a king. And, his take on it was like, fuck that guy forever. And, what do you do with that guy? Like, there's a lot of us in the beginning, we're like, fuck that guy, fuck you forever. And I'm like, no, now thinking about it, I'm like, that guy has to be forgiven. Like, he clearly has deep remorse for what he's done. And he's also clearly living in a world where he was given nothing but adulation and praise for most of his life. And then all of a sudden, he has this one, in many people's eyes, unforgivable moment where he does something just so fucking stupid. But it's not like he doesn't realize it. He's a human being. You just got to forgive him. And I think the real person who has to forgive him, if he wants to, is Chris Rock.
That's right.
And I don't know if Chris will, I haven't even talked to Chris about it. Last time I saw Chris, it didn't come up at all. We talked about how Chris is on a renaissance of his stand-up right now. His stand-up has never been better.
That's what I've heard.
Everybody that saw him, so like, dude, he's on fire. It's like old school Bring the Pain Chris Rock. And I think it's because he got awoken to what he got into this for in the beginning. For a lot of comics, being able to host the Oscars is like, you're not just you're in with the most important crowd possible. You are not just one of the greatest comics of all time, but you're also the guy that can host the Oscars. And it's just like this unachievable honor that such a small handful get to that spot. And he got to that spot and was humiliated. And I think it just reignited what made him a comic in the first place. He's an outsider. We're all outsiders. You want to be an insider? The compromises that come with becoming an insider are not worth it. Like what you're trying to do is you'll be more of an insider by not doing that. You'll be more of a legend by going back to his roots, and that's what he's doing. If he wants to forgive Will Smith, that's totally his choice. I don't know what his relationship with Will Smith is. I know he'd been taunting him and making jokes about him forever, but they're pretty fucking mild jokes. It wasn't that horrible. And my perspective on it is that just Will's just a person that was in an impossible to understand scenario. To be a guy who's a child star who goes from that to become one of the most beloved actors in the world, blockbuster films, everybody loves you, to this one thing where everybody fucking hates you. Everybody thinks you're a piece of shit. He's a human. You got to forgive him.
So what advice would you give Will?
What he's already done. I mean, I think what he's done has been too coordinated and produced. He gave an apology with multiple camera angles. That's crazy. You just needs to be you and your phone.
Right,
just
which might be potentially part of the problem in the first place.
Yeah, set up your phone. Say something into your phone that you I think he has reached out to Chris, but I don't think Chris is interested in talking to him. He'll be forgiven. It'll take some time. It's not the worst thing that people have done.
Right.
It's the embarrassment and shame that he felt from it is the absolute appropriate response. He's not doubled down and said, fuck that guy. If I see him again, it's on site. There's none of that stupid shit. It's...
Can you imagine?
Imagine if he did that.
Got you, bitch. Coming for you next time, motherfucker.
Next time
Close
it's my
fist.
left hand.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's I was the movie that he got the Oscar for, King Richard. I was in that movie, and I was at every award show, it was weird. I didn't go to the. I decided not to go to that Oscars. My son had a doubleheader in his travel baseball team, and I was like, man, I'm hanging out with Big Bill today. And,
good for you.
And I was watching it with my other son, Henry, who knows Will, who also was just like, why did Mr. Will do that?
No.
And what was crazy is, I'm an enormous fan of Chris Rock's, but I know Will, and I know that Will would hate the fact that my son had that feeling. And, for me, working for a whole year with him on that movie and then going on the press tour and the award circuit, like, look, man, I've never in my life seen someone who is like kinder or more generous or more, like it was such an insane moment that revealed such unhealth, just like a lack of health in that moment.
That's a great way to put it.
It's just like he is not in the, and so horrible. And look, just like as a man going and putting your hands on another man whose hands are behind their back, just like as a like.
Not just that, but Chris Rock is this tiny guy.
100%. So
it's not a threat at all.
100%. And it's like, would you? Yeah, exactly. Right. So there's all that. But look, I think it's like, it's odd because it's like, for me with my friends, it's like I try to judge them not for their worst moments, for their best, and try to get to the bottom of what's going on, But yeah, it was I just remember really palpably feeling that, like when my son saw it, like fucking Will would have hated that. Like the Will I know, would have hated that.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he thinks about it every day. I'm sure he's like brushing his teeth, going, "Fuck! Yeah. Like what did I do?" And, I think it also was an accumulative event of the public humiliation that he felt going on his wife's show and her talking about her relationships with other men, including men that were friends with her son. The whole thing was just for him to deal with that publicly had to be so torturous that I think that he just felt this need to stand up for himself in a very poorly thought out, not thought out at all, just impulsive, yeah. Horribly impulsive, and also just speaks to the ego, like where his ego had gotten him to this place where he thought he could do that, and he thought he could yell, "Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth," in front of the Academy, the world, all the cameras, saying it to Chris Rock, who made the most innocuous joke. All of it is so crazy, but the other part about it is to me, like as a human that enjoys a little bit of chaos, I like when things get fucked up because it lets people know that all this bullshit about tuxedos and clapping and horns playing and the curtains drawn and open and closed, and it's all bullshit. We're just human beings.
And as you said about Chris Rock's comedy now, there is a potential here for both of these men that could have been, in a way, in a strange way, the most important, potentially best moment in either of their artistic life.